A few years before Clarence Ross began exploring the Jemez Mountains for their geologic story, the main character in the most spectacular story of the summer of 2011 sprouted. This unknown and serene aspen tree grew to over 100 feet tall, and through ring counting is believed to have been about 95 years old, when during a windstorm it was blown down, striking an uninsulated power line, thus sparking the Las Conchas fire.
Well, we've hiked up to a point that we call Hunter's Point here on the north rim of the caldera, and we're looking south across the Valles, and from here we can see pretty much the full extent of the fire. The unusual thing about the Las Conchas fire was that it began at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and within the first 14 hours, it covered 43,000 acres. That is a rate of spread of 1 acre of forest burned for every 1.17 seconds for 14 hours. The reasons for the fire to burn that fast was essentially the ultra-dry conditions of the fuels, which were under 5% moisture. A lot of the fine fuels, the grasses and twigs on the forest floor were below 1% moisture. To give you a comparison there, the kiln-dried lumber that one would buy at Home Depot has about 12% fuel moisture in it. So we were way below what you would get at a hardware store. In addition, we had very strong winds coming from the southwest and the west. And on top of that, we had 100 years of fuel buildup due to putting out all the fires and not thinning the forest for the better part of a century. Now, the mosaic pattern we see on the landscape due to the fire is essentially the result of different fire severities. The first set would be low severity fire, which is essentially grassland and understory burns of the forest. That is why right now, the valles you see behind us are so green and lush. The grasses grow back immediately. The place where we're filming today burned over as well, and the bunch grasses are already 1.5 feet tall. The second severity is a medium severity fire, which goes through the subcanopy of the forest here, but doesn't actually kill the trees. The heat may scorch and kill some of the lower needles and branches, but the trees survive in pretty good shape. And then we get into a high severity regime. These are the blackened areas where the trees are obviously dead. The needles have been browned out all the way to the tops of the trees. Those trees will die and fall over the next several years.